Hello and good morning everyone, Scott here again, and I say morning because last night I got out of Justice League. Yeah, the new DC movie. It's here, it's out, I saw it opening night, Shauna and I went to the late show, we ended up talking about it for a few hours! And other stuff, but... yeah, Justice League. So, a lot's been said about this movie going in. I did a hyperbole, which was my review for new movies. I've just turned them into this, here's a movie. Batman vs. Superman was about 50 minutes, because I had to talk about what was so wrong about it by talking about it, and I couldn't just summarize the movie up. Let me just say out of the gate that this is easily the number 2 after Wonder Woman. Now, I know for a lot of people, there's Wonder Woman, and then a huge gulf, and then crap down there. I understand that. Here's how it kind of goes. Man of Steel, I rewatched when I was getting ready to do the GPC for it, and it's actually more coherent than I remembered, but it's still not memorable really in any way, except for how misguided some of the stuff is with how brooding he is. And that goes back to the 2012 Dark Knight Rises success, making DC think that this is the way to do our movies, this is our template. Which is the wrong idea for Superman entirely. Like, there's a bunch they could do it with, but not Superman. I went at length on that about how he's a literal ray of sunshine. He's powered by the sun. His symbol is hope. Come on, guys. How hard is that, guys? Like, if that's what you're going to do, do that. It's not really hope. It's just an S, but you know what I mean. Then, when that has so much success, they immediately go into establishing the universe with Batman vs. Superman. And then planning movies for Green Lantern and Flash and Wonder Woman and Justice League Part 1 and 2. And all this crazy stuff. Okay? And that's fine. You want to make a universe of movies, you absolutely can, but you got to be smart about it. Problem is, they just shoehorned stuff in with Snyder with Batman vs. Superman. And that movie really was misguided if you want to go down that road. And I talked about it for 50 minutes. Go check out the old review. But essentially, I said there is some really good fun stuff in there. Maybe 20 minutes worth out of a 3-hour movie. There's far too much crap you have to slog through to get to the good. And the crap they did is just mind-numbingly weird decisions. Like, it just doesn't work. You shouldn't have movie 2 blowing away the ideas of having the Dark Knight Returns storyline. That should not be your first Batman story. You should not be doing Doomsday, let alone All Out with Death of Superman in your first movie, along with hints of Killing Joke and stuff like that. Like, that's... while also introducing Lex Luthor, Wonder Woman, and cameos for Aquaman, Cyborg, and The Flash. That's just a horrible idea for one movie, especially the second movie you're doing. And then how'd they follow it up? Suicide Squad. Now, Suicide Squad was the first to recover from the backlash from Batman vs. Superman. It made millions of dollars, but was rated poorly, so they knee-jerked. And you could have the rumors or whatever, but Suicide Squad was recut so that it was more like the trailer, which had positive reactions, but had allegedly all the jokes. So we needed more, so they did lots of reshoots. And reshoots aren't a bad thing. They often fix movies. World War Z is the biggest example. But for this, they recut it, and you can see it's a hodgepodge of like 10 ideas. And it was also just a bad idea in general to make movie 3 a villain team-up about characters we've not seen before and spend half the movie introducing them when you could have easily just made movies and had this one come later. But that's it. That was the first. It was they only had months to turn the course on that. Wonder Woman was filming and they were just like, no, we got our thing. We're doing it. It's going to be bright and sunny. We got this. And then they proved everyone right. So now we're into movie 5 and it's Justice League with no real follow-up from Suicide Squad, for one. Except for a bit that I didn't even realize later, because Flash was in Suicide Squad briefly, as the guy who got Boomerang. Forgot all about that until this morning. I went, oh yeah, didn't feel like it. It felt like this was the first Flash we'd seen, so that was an odd thing. But they were seeding moments, and the potential is there if they had given us a Flash movie beforehand, or like Shauna said, use Flash from the TV show. You could even have him be from alternate universes. That's a thing they've done in that show. That's fine. But also, a Cyborg movie, which, seeing how they had his story here, it actually works here, but it still would have been almost a bit better to have him pre-existing, but I'll get to that in a second. But Aquaman is getting his own movie, and it made a lot more sense to have that all established, because there were cool moments in Justice League, and now I will talk about Justice League. Justice League is the least ambitious of anything Snyder's done. I mean, he's done crazy adaptations or re-envisionings of things like Dawn of the Dead or 300. He did his own crazy fantasy dream of Sucker Punch, and he did this insane idea of doing all the stuff I just mentioned with Batman vs. Superman, and also making Superman dark in Man of Steel. This is just, let's assemble the League. Fighting the Chitauri from the sky, which is basically all it was. Parademons from Steppenwolf. There's nothing to it. It's not anything really crazy good. But the characters, there's times when we see stuff and it harkens back to Batman, which was cool, and Superman, which is cool, and Wonder Woman, which is cool. Like, we see Themyscira, we see Diana doing stuff, and we hear the music. It's like, this is cool, I'm excited. It's a callback to things I know. But then when we get the Flash, it's like, okay, so what's this guy's deal? Instead, it should be callbacks to things we know. And there's no reason they couldn't have done a Flash movie beforehand. I mean, there is a reason. They couldn't get a director involved in it, and no one would commit to it. And Aquaman has a movie coming out next December. So, like, it just almost feels like they put the cart before the horse. Because you can see the potential of the callbacks. Because if suddenly we're in Atlantis, and there's cool-ass stuff happening there, that'd be so cool to fall back and have that just like Themyscira. So, Cyborg, though, is a lot like Black Panther, and I don't mean that because they're black. I mean that his story is kind of rooted in this, because Black Panther and Captain America, his father dies and he takes on the mantle. In this, it's literally these mother boxes have to be found, and he's partly existing cyborg-like because of those. So that makes sense that he's linked in like that. Because otherwise we had Wonder Woman, kind of like Black Widow, established in Iron Man 2 and then her own thing here. And we had Flash, kind of like Hawkeye and Thor. Like, you can see they've got the idea. They know how to do some of the stuff, but it's almost like they don't get to always make those decisions. And other times it's just, let's do this and go forward. So, it was frustrating. Now, callbacks aside, Wonder Woman is great, but her score was only in it once, and I was kind of bummed by that. But the music is good. Danny Elfman brought back the classic Superman theme by John Williams, not heard in theaters, at least in Superman movies, someone else might have used it, since 1987, or, no, Superman Returns, 2005. And the actual old Batman theme he did from 89 and 92. It was kind of cool. It was just in a little bit when the bat signal's up, but it was there. Like, that's really, really cool to have that stuff. And also the Man of Steel theme and stuff like that. They're having fun. And it's a big change, because I know the cinematographer talked about this too, with the color palette. They filmed it brighter, even though it's the end of the world type thing. And it is. Everything looks a bit cleaner to look at, and it's more fun to watch. It's just an enjoyable thing to look at, in that sense. Like, it might be problematic, and I can get to that, but at least you're not like, oh, this is drab and dreary. Because when the weather, it's sunny out right now, that's natural light. But if it was dark and dreary in here, I actually have the light on too, look, that's how much that needed. When it's dark and dreary, outside, all rainy and overcast, you're reflective of your surrounding in that. And that's what Batman vs. Superman was. That's what Man of Steel was. And that's almost kind of what Suicide Squad was, but it was vibrant with the popping of the color. And then Wonder Woman was frickin' World War I, and yet she was this beacon and shining hope. They kind of got that here. So that, I want to say, at least Snyder, by virtue of the producers or whomever made that decision, realized that here. That was fine. That was good. And yet you could clearly see that Joss Whedon was involved with about 20% of the footage with the reshoots and the tone and little bits, much like Avengers, which I don't want to say is his thing, but it is. And it all worked a lot better. Now, that said, there's some stupid stuff. Like, okay, so these mother boxes are the power sources. Where'd they go? Like, they're dealt with, don't worry, and they flashback stuff, but that's unresolved. The bad guy, it's a rock, paper, scissors. He's got his little floaty demons who are handled by the heroes, but the heroes can't handle him. And then the way things end up, you're like, well, why is that a thing? Also, everyone's plan was simply wait for Superman. Because he's the puncher, he's the thing. And Steppenwolf came because there was no Kryptonian. Very much like Hela with Odin, but it was, she knew. But Steppenwolf, this is like thousands of years ago, Steppenwolf did this. And he's back now because the Kryptonian's gone. Well, the Kryptonian, let's say he's 35 years old. He arrived 35 years ago. Steppenwolf's been around thousands of years. He could have easily come any time before the last 35 years. And he's only been active as the Superman for like 2. And he's been dead for a year. So why is he showing up to avoid the Kryptonian? Also, as Shauna pointed out, Kryptonians are just kind of jerk explorers. Only on Earth are they superpowered. So why? What? So that didn't really make sense. And that's the problem Batman Superman had. And Man of Steel even to an extent, where like you start to really think about it and it falls apart. I'm still floating around a 6 or a 7 overall. I gave it 3.5 on Letterboxd out of 5 because I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than Shauna did, but there was a lot to like and not a lot to slog through to get there. There was some dumb stuff like why one battle went the way it did was just stupid. It was absolutely stupid. It's like why is he not doing it? Why is that happening? And then the main thing at the end. They have to go to Russia, because that's where Steppenwolf's building his evil machine. See also Suicide Squad. And, I mean, Spider-Man and Turtles. And, but he's there, and they got to go. So they go there. It's fine. But we see this family, mother, father, 2 little kids, boy and a girl. And they see when Steppenwolf arrived. And we keep coming back to them barricading the house. And there's other houses, but it's in this crap town. Like, think Chernobyl and the surrounding areas. It's like this crap little thing. And we keep cutting back to them surviving in this. Now, we've established many times over we need these mother boxes because in the flashback, Steppenwolf kills everything. He destroys the world to make it his. The stakes have been established. And we need Superman to help prevent that. And he's not even back yet in parts of this. So we keep going to this family, though, to show someone in peril so we are connected. And then when they arrive and fight, they're there and they try to evacuate and escape and they're in their little truck and we keep cutting back to them. Like the heroes have no comprehension of who these people are. They do at one point and it's in a funny moment overall. But I don't need 15 minutes total of this random Russian family being in peril to understand the stakes that the world-ending event is causing. Because the movie did a good job telling us this is a world-ending event. You showed us in a cool flashback scene with Atlanteans and Amazons and men and gods fighting Steppenwolf in a flashback. It was really cool. We don't need this random 4 people to really sell it and get invested in the battle. It took away from us. Like, oh, not these guys again. I get it, but the only reason that they got saved is because Flash came across them when he was running around scouting things and got them out of the way. When they stop the bad guys, it will be stopped. So there's no problem there. Why are we spending time with this? And that's just that's a flaw I have. That felt like something Snyder was doing to like this is needed to make them understand the stakes. Like you spent an hour and a half making sure we knew the stakes, and you did a fine job with that. What's the problem? So I don't want to ramble too much about this, but I enjoyed this movie. I enjoyed it a fair bit. I'll pick up the Blu-ray and everything. Is it flawed? Absolutely. Because there was some stupid stuff. And yet there's easy ways to accomplish it. There was a bit in a tunnel where a hole was punched in it and our heroes are going to drown and Aquaman came in through it and stopped it. Now how did he know that they were there? Like Shauna said, well, he speaks through the water. And that's a line Aquaman said to Batman later on. It's like, do you talk to fish? No, the water talks. I listen to the currents and I can hear what's going on. So they established that that's a legitimate thing. But they didn't account and like explain that that's how. And I know you got to give the audience some credit and things, but how would he have known that was there? Like I say, I had the same problem with Furious 7, I think it was, when The Rock was in the ambulance over the tunnel with the drone in it, chasing someone in the car, and he drove the ambulance off and crashed into the drone. There was zero way he could have known that was there. He can't talk to drones or through bridges. Maybe he's The Rock, maybe. Right? So they at least they had an out for that they didn't use. And there was a bunch of moments like that where just one line would have explained things. Like I said, there was good callbacks to stuff, and yet they failed on those callbacks because they didn't do anything with Ares, and yet he was in it. Ares was in the flashback. The same actor, David Thewlis, from Wonder Woman, was in that cool flashback, because that was how far back that is, fighting to save Earth. And I noticed that when I was reading on Wikipedia, looking up stuff, and they said David Thewlis from his Ares. I went, when? In the flashback. He did? Didn't notice. So they had moments where they can call stuff back and show you actors from prior movies in parts and little bits here and there, like the Marvel movies are doing rather well. Even Fast and Furious are doing that well. This one could have easily done that, and did one! And I didn't notice it. That's the problem, guys. Now, it's under 2 hours, and I actually feel like it would have benefited maybe from another 20 minutes. But again, take the Russian family out, and you've got 15 to work with, and it would have been that would have been enough to flesh a little bit out. This really shouldn't have been movie 5, because they joked about Superman dying even too. Like Lois says, "No dying this time." He's like, "Yes, ma'am." It was a cool moment, but we've already established that the best of them who can't die did, but came back. Now the method is probably gone now, but there was an amazing line in it where they said, "When you die, you lose something when you come back, even Superman." And I'm sitting there going, "Yeah, the brooding." Yeah, and it was. They got rid of that. And Batman has a line. He wants to use a thing to bring Superman back. It'll be obvious when you see it, don't worry. He's like, if there's even just a chance of a percentage, like, that we can have this, we must take it. I'm like, he's doing his 1% must be an absolute thing again. That has to be a joke. That has to be a Whedon flip on it, where Bruce Wayne's just obsessed with, there's a possibility, I'm going to take it. Which I can kind of get behind for this older Batman. Like, if there's a 2% chance that I can save that girl, I'm going to do it. Like, that, when you put it that way, yeah. But if it's like, oh, there's 1%, we must do. It was weird in the other movie. And I don't want to say that's Whedon and Snyder, and I'm just one over the other, because I love Snyder's look of his movies. They're amazing. Just something about it, though, the difference in the tones worked, which proved that what Snyder was going for was achievable, just he wasn't capable in how they did that. They didn't rein something in or produce it or cut it or something. I don't know what it was. I mean, it made millions of dollars and we have a franchise, but I digress. Now, beyond all of that, what really gets me is the ending stuff. Because the first ending credit scene is the ultimate fanboy moment. Because it's just a cute, fun thing with a great callback line as well. That was great. The ending credit scene, Shauna said docked a point off the movie for her. And I'll talk about it here, so spoilery bit here. It's Luthor and Deathstroke. Now, she's looking at this guy going, who is that? Is that Black Manta? That's the problem with Deathstroke. Nobody knows who he is. He's been in, like, some cartoons, and that's about it. And the Arkham City game. Origins, rather. Nobody knows who this guy is. So to have him be there as this big reveal means nothing. Like, Thanos they got across because he court death and he smiled. Who's this guy? What? If you know, it's awesome. If you don't, he's a threat. He's just standing there talking to Luthor. It was bad. It was not good. I'm cool with it, and it's going to be fun when they bring him in, but it meant nothing to people there. Now, Luthor was there, and he's escaped and whatever, and he had like 2 lines. And it was restrained, and he looked more like the proper Luthor we know, like with the suit and everything, the bald head. That was fine, but he still had a bit of a goofy performance, and it was this... it soured everything, and it kind of sucked. So that was a problem. What they should have done is just go balls out, because they're like, we need to make a league of our own. It's the Injustice League. Not based on the game, but what they should have done is go all out and have Joker show up. Harley, Croc, but the Suicide Squad, bring those guys in. Have these others show up. And it's just, here we go. Like, there's, yeah. Because otherwise, the Justice League that Luthor wants to make to oppose the actual Justice League so far is himself and a hitman who's not as good as Deadshot. hey, how about this be Deadshot? Wouldn't that have been cool if Deadshot shows up and it's Will Smith when he took the mask off? Come on! That would have been great. That would have gotten the audience excited because they know who that is. We've had a movie to explain it. But imagine if that happened, people are like, who's this guy? What's Will Smith doing here? They don't know who he is yet. We've established who this guy is, bring him in, it would have worked. Now that I'm in spoiler area, I'll go back a bit and talk about when they brought back Superman, because that was a moment that was like Hulk versus Thor in the first Avengers. I had no idea about it, and it was so much fun. Because, yeah, they were fighting him for a bit. He was a little off, a little loopy, didn't know what was what. And he fought the Flash. And it was kind of like when Apocalypse fought Quicksilver. Everything was there, and he kind of looked over. Crowd went nuts. Turns, gets angry, and he's going after them. So the Flash is in his Speed Force with lightning on him in his suit trying to do it. And Superman's just there with him because he's that fast. That was good. And then there's a bit later where Superman calls him, hey, Slowpoke. It's like, oh, this is fun. It is good. And then they do a callback thing at the end. And oh, it was good. That was fun. They're actually starting to embrace the fact that they make comic books and they can make comic book movies. Took them 5, but here it took them 4. Wonder Woman had it. But here we go. Let's do this. So I'm on board for what they're doing with it. I think they've finally turned that corner. This one, Suicide Squad was under the Snyder vision, and they made a movie based on that and realized, ah, crap, and tried to do what they could to pull it back when Geoff Johns came on as producer and recut it. Wonder Woman was at least its own, like, we got this, don't worry. And like, oh yeah, you do, thumbs up. Biggest solo superhero movie of all time. Awesome, here we go. So Justice League, it was like, alright, we got time. Let's tweak this, let's fix this, let's spend millions of dollars to adjust this the way we need and get this foot forward. You can still see that it was this, and they kind of went, okay, pull this back, and then we're gonna do this now. Okay, it's a full movie. Look, yeah, this is a little slap shot. Let's get. But it worked. It was for the better. I think going forward, we got this thing figured out. They got to stop rushing it. And yeah, there's other heroes. Like there's one big omission. It's in there. It's in the flashback stuff. Don't worry. It's cool. So I recommend Justice League. If you're interested in seeing it, go see it. Because they are turning that corner. This is something I saw Facebook remind me last year when I saw the Wonder Woman trailer. Like, this might be them turning that corner. They have. They absolutely have turned that corner. Now, it's going to be problematic for some. Like I said, the Luther bit destroys some stuff. Because even the line he says, just sitting here on my yacht watching God come out of the ground, fly back up into the sky. It's like, no, stop with the God stuff. I get it. He's Jesus. He was dead for 3 days, came back and saved humanity. I get it. But at least they didn't have him do his little thing, I'm the Jesus, and so. He did do a moment, but it's fine. It's in the hands of people who know what they're doing. And I'm sorry, Snyder, but you almost ruined this from the get-go. And they couldn't afford to reboot it again. So they're just kind of turning this ship the right way. It's a course correction, absolutely, but it's a needed one, and it's working. And they've got Flashpoint in the future where they can just be like, whoop, and change things whatever they want anyway with reality fun stuff. So, hey, that's a thing. So, absolutely do check that one out. That's it for me. Do check out everything on Guilty Pleasure Cinema as well. Guilty Pleasure Cinema is on Facebook, Cyclops Scott here on YouTube and on Twitter. I'm also on Reckless Eating. I'm also on Jobber Radio. I'm also on Zion Mainframe Gaming. That did some Human Fall Flat. That's some funny stuff. That's good too. And GPC, hey, by the way, remember it was coming? Yeah, it got snowy and I couldn't film it, so it's going to be till the spring. So I've got stuff planned for in the meantime. We'll see how that goes, but I'm not rushing anything. That's what stressed me out the first time, so we'll see how that goes. But thanks again for watching. See you next time.